Come June 21, it will be decision day for the people of Ekiti. 18 candidates are gunning for one seat.
I am the next governor of Ekiti.
But the people will have the final say.
I know that tolerance has a very big place.
Join extensive coverage of the election and get up to the many details as development unfolds.
I'm the voice of the Ekiti people.
With expert analysis from the best political team on television.
And that's honesty of island. Without
Join us all day June 21 to find out who emerges the next governor of Ekiti State.
We have agreed to move this state forward.
Keep a date with us on Court TV News. You can also watch us live on our website on www.courttvnews.com, a 24-hour news station.
This is Core Digest. Welcome to our studios. And today, the eve of the big day for the Ekiti people. 18 political parties have nominated candidates to run for the election of governor. And today, each one will be looking and taking stock of how they are about to be put on paper to the people of Ekiti. Elections will take place from tomorrow, and we ought to know, hopefully by Sunday, who carries the day. In the studio this morning, we have CHUKA Nabife, a journalist and public affairs analyst, as well as TUBOSUN AIHONSU, a political analyst, here with us to take a look at the governorship poll with all eyes on Ekiti. Gentlemen, you're welcome to our studios.
Good morning.
Morning indeed.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for answering our call. The first question I want to direct to you, let me start with CHUKA. How would you evaluate the distribution of materials in Ekiti State, considering the fact that we have just today, and yet some are complaining of not getting their materials at this time?
Yeah, evaluating the distribution of materials is actually the job of somebody on the ground, not even an observer. Not even an observer. An observer can at most say what he has observed, local or international observer, notwithstanding. If you want to say whether what you have, the materials have gotten to the real places, you have to actually be there on the day of the election. Because election materials, vital election materials, are not made known to you. They are not disclosed until the day of the poll, particularly. So you cannot even evaluate it now until after the polls.
We're talking about the credibility of INEC because whether we like it or not, these materials are essential. Let's even leave the ones that are too sensitive for the public to know about. The credibility of INEC, the manning of the centers of distribution where each political party feels this is our right to what we should have and these things should get to their destination. If we are agitating for the success of these elections and at the beginning, the things that should form the basis for the elections, we are already having complaints about them, then what does that portend for these elections tomorrow?
There are, in politics, when you are following politics, there are three things you are always advised to do, whether as a journalist or as an observer or as a participant. Know the laws. The laws gives you the timetable. The laws give you the timetable, the landmarks. Know the players. The players give you the institutions and all the rest. Know the materials. And if you factor all these things, always bear in mind that it is a game that people are playing. A game you come with subterfuge, you can be overt or covert. If, for example, if I am a player and I want to leave a window for me to have an appeal, assuming I lose, I will begin now to landscape for opportunities for me to vent when I lose. If I feel I'm going to win, and of course in any game like this, nobody is sure he will win or Some may know when they will likely lose when they look at the followership, but nobody is critically sure, sure that he's going to lead or win. If you're sure you are going to win, you begin to also, as you are giving ground for you to vent if you lose, you are also creating grounds for credibility. In your news bulletin, which you read, you presented the fact where where the materials are started to be distributed. Actually, it's from yesterday, where have been distributed, and you had one of the in your pictures, one of the officials say, these are the materials we have. Want to be sure everybody to be sure that these materials are there. So these are one of the there's a vital procedure. You must make the people know, and as you are doing it, an observer for who is unattached. That is somebody who is an independent observer, and an agent to candidates, and as well as agents to parties. An agent to INEC will be taking those materials that they have called from this, they give paper this. But there's a danger when we don't give the teacher the credibility in a classroom. The student will believe that the teacher, even the one that didn't do well, will believe that the teacher didn't judge him fairly. You understand? And even when he is judged fairly, once you give when you make a teacher come out as not being up to scratch, even the certificate you get after all the labor will become null and void, even in the mind of the student and in the mind of the people who are going to use it. So there is a danger when we begin to create the impression that INEC is not up to it. It's until they finish the task that you can say they are up to it. For now, that is the only statute. That's why I say know the laws also. When they are the only statutory body to organize it. And parties will continue to needle INEC to give room for them to vent if they lose.
Can we say that INEC carried the electorate along with respect to educating them on what is expected of them on election day? TUBOSUN?
Well,
have they done a good job, so to speak? This is a test case for 2015, and INEC eventually said they needed to do this kind of orientation with the people. Have they done good job in educating the people enough on what is expected of the electorate as this election approaches?
as the umpire, INEC is guided by law. And I believe the issue of voters' education is not the sole responsibility of INEC. Because the political parties themselves, they need the vote to win. So outside of INEC, I believe each of the political parties will have marketed, itself to the people to the extent that at the end of the day, such political party may carry the day. Now, having said that, I believe with what we have had so far, with what we have read in newspapers and what we have seen on television, a lot of people are actually prepared. And after months of electioneering campaign, months of voters' education, as it were, and so on and so forth. If you have seen some of these rallies that the political parties have had, you would have seen crowds of people, thousands. Of course, some of them could have come from neighboring states. We of course know what what goes into holding rallies. The political party that holds a rally mobilizes not only from within the confines of that particular state or locality where that rally is being held, but also from neighboring states, in order to give the impression that it has a lot of people on its side. But I believe INEC has done well. But then, the onus on INEC to be impartial, because the key thing is happening tomorrow. The major thing that matters is the election proper. Even if voters turnout is not as expected, the fairness of the election, how free and fair the election is really what matters, because that is always the basis for election petition. How credible, how impartial the electoral umpire is, and whether the election result at the end of the day actually reflects the projected and expected voting pattern. So that is always the basis for anybody or any party that may want to take his case to the election petition tribunal. So I believe from what we have had so far, I think people are ready.
The adequacy of being educated enough.
Yes, I believe so. I believe they are ready. I mean, despite the topography, it is a very, somebody went to Ekiti sometime ago and said that place is like going to heaven. Despite the political terrain, the topography, I believe they are ready, and we should just wait for what happens tomorrow.
CHUKA.
Yeah.
The adequacy.
Yes, the adequacy of materials, like I said, is when you are on the day of the poll that you will know the adequacy of the material.
With respect to the electorate now, adequacy of information
adequacy
and
of campaign too.
Yes.
You see, voter education is a function of several institutions. One, the state. The state need voter education for it to make people participate in governance and accept that government is to give government the endorsement as theirs. Voter education is also a function, is every party should have or must have a voter enlightenment arm as a department in the party, in a political party. Every party should. If you don't have it, you are not. Then every campaign organization is also supposed to have an arm for voter enlightenment. That is, campaign organization, I mean, is even if you're campaigning for the chairmanship or campaigning for the House of Representatives, House of Assembly, or governorship or Senate or presidency, you must have within your office a campaign, a desk or a department handling voter enlightenment. And then INEC's responsibility is electoral. I want us to distinguish it from political. INEC is Independent National Electoral Commission. And election, every person who knows political studies will tell you that election is just one aspect of political machination. Is about that poll of that day, counting and legitimizing it, and the processes to that poll. But that is not where voter education stops. Why do I have to even, I as a voter should know why I should stand on queue? I should know why I should vote with my thumb or my index finger. I should also know why when I vote, I don't have to vote more than once. I also should know what each party or each candidate they are throwing up stands for. That is where you look, you attend their rallies. If you don't, it is even possible, like Mr. AIHONSU has said, it's even possible that none of the people who attended any of the rallies, it's possible that none of the people who attended any of the rallies is going to vote tomorrow. It could be hired crowd. Of course, you made a report of some people who wanted to be in a rally in Ekiti, and they were stopped coming. They are not from Ekiti, so they are definitely not going to vote. But they are a part of the influences to the vote. The people who are going to vote may choose to be spectators. They may not belong to attend any of those rallies that you have mammoth crowd or whatever. But you must know what the man in Ekiti or the woman in Ekiti or the child in Ekiti should by now have known what Ekiti wants for 2014 to 2018. He knows where the shoe pinches him. He knows what he is looking for and the kind of person that should do it for him. Then when tomorrow he goes to take just one count of the vote, that is 1 by 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 adds to the millions and zillions that we have. So you understand, you will know how that one vote of his matters in making that decision. And that enlightenment is not of INEC. That is why that's why, like I said earlier, you must know the timetable. By now, everybody must have known, okay, possibly this thing we are talking about, education, what we need now is employment. He would have known that within 4 years ago. Or possibly this thing we are talking about, education, we need more institutions. Or this thing we are talking about, farming, we need more fertilizer. Or this thing we're talking about roads, we need more boulevards, not artery roads. He already has had it in mind, and he is shopping for candidate 1 to all the 50 parties or more who has that kind of message that he wants. And when he gets to the poll, he should know it. It's not a job of INEC. What INEC is to the processes to this election. The candidate duly registered. Is the party duly qualified to do it? Is it a statutory provision in the constitution that he didn't meet or she didn't meet that she should meet? That's the job of INEC for election. But for voter enlightenment, is a social civic responsibility that all of us learn, even from day one in our enlightenment about governance.
Before we go ahead with the program, would like to tell you watching at home that you are important to us and your comments as important as you are. You can reach us on Facebook, our Facebook page, facebook.com/Core TV News. And you can send your tweets at our Twitter handle at Core TV News NG. And now to Mr. TUBOSUN AIHONSU, manning the electioneering process, the voting process. Different people have said different things about the set of people that should be used as presiding officers. And this time, the INEC has chosen to use core members. It's not the first time core members have been used, and students of higher institutions, some have spoken about their security, and given the different arguments that we have, one of the reasons why they are being used is because of their being impartial. If we criticize this move by INEC, what set of people, in your opinion, do you think are best to man voting on the day of elections, if not NYC core members and higher institution students?
Well, in some past elections, teachers have been used. The fact that teachers are on the payroll of state government, has put credibility question on how impartial such teachers could be. Now, even if you are talking about core members, these core members are serving. Presume they are serving within the state, and apart from their stipend that they get from the federal government, majority of them may actually be having their primary assignment in the civil service or even in the teaching teaching.
Considering
service.
that most of them are not posted to private organizations, again, almost every corporate now works for the government.
Those that are posted, you are talking that you are saying that provided some of them are not posted to private organizations. Of course, the core members that are going to be used for this exercise cannot be core members that are having their primary assignment in private organizations. They are mostly those that are having their primary assignment with government institutions, like the civil service, the ministries, the parastatals, and then the teaching service commission. Now, they are being paid by government. The government, as it were, of Ekiti State. We will, of course, be paying them, stipend, in addition to what the federal government is paying them. Like, I can tell you categorically that any Nigerian, no matter where he or she works, no matter what he or she does, the issue of impartiality has been a tug of war when it comes to election. Now, core members are people that are just coming out of school, and their mind will be, what will I do after my youth service? Now, do you know that it is possible for some of them could be giving promises of automatic employment in the state civil service if they will be able to do this or that. It is possible for that to be used as a carrot for them to be able to walk along with whatever plan some certain people may have as far as the election is concerned. It is also possible for them also. They are vulnerable people. Core members are very vulnerable because if you look at their socio-economic status, these are people in need. How much are they being paid? How much is government paying them? The federal government. How much will be the stipend that the state government, wherever they are serving, they are having their primary assignment, how much are they being paid? Very, very vulnerable set of people. Teachers will have been better. But then, of course, we also look at how far has the state government done in terms of teachers' welfare. Do you also know lately, was it last week or this week, that Amalgamated Unions of the Trade Union Congress and the NLC endorsed officially?
Yes.
Endorse the candidature of the government. And the NUT is an affiliate of the NLC, Nigeria Labour Congress. So, whoever you are going to use, the most important thing is that what is our culture as a people? Now, we are talking about the ad hoc staff, even those that are not ad hoc staff, who are permanent staff with INEC. How impartial would they be? Until we reach that stage where we see election as a tool, as a platform to put into government those that will represent the articulated public good of the people. We have not yet reached the place. So whoever is used as it were now, I doubt whether such will not be easily manipulated, because of the fact that we are in a society where poverty is the order of the day. We are in a society where a lot of people are looking up to people to bail them out of economic problems. So that is why the impartiality of whoever is used, whoever, no matter who you are, is really that, based on the fact that Nigeria, as it is today, is in the economic quagmire.
Well, I mean, without putting the credibility of INEC, particularly in this election, into question, because we are yet to see the election proper, so we can adequately evaluate that in another day or two, once the elections have taken place. But having said that, without being pessimistic, Chuka, would you say the wherewithal of the Nigerian populace, as we were using the NYSC or the teachers, and you remember the first time we had election with Jega, he had all the professors.
He still has
most of those people, and people who are very credible.
Those professors are the returning officers.
As these returning officers.
They announce what
the point is,
they are not actually in the field.
Can NYSC or students manning having particular positions to work with INEC, should that be a cause for concern, or should it be something to encourage?
That's why I'm as worried as you are that the NYSC, using NYSC or tertiary school students should be of concern to anybody.
Indeed.
Because you have some very technical forms to fill. And the level of education, that enlightenment that you need those kind of people to feel it. You understand? You ask yourself about the personnel available. You understand the quality of manpower available that are unaligned or relatively unaligned.
Yes.
Like Mr. AIHONSU have just said, as regards almost everybody has is aligned. I was, as a youth corps, I served in an election, and I bet you the only group of persons that we are not closely attached to any partisan interest, where that was those of us who were youth corps. And you were using the word credibility for the professors. That is because in your mind, because he went to school, you feel he cannot be as partisan as the man on the street or the thug. But most of them
have interest.
Not just have interest. For you to become even a professor now, as it is, you must have some leaning. For you to be a vice chancellor or to have a key post in a school, you must have some leaning. You understand? So, but it is like weighing things on a scale. The level of odds against, compared against the level of odds for. Do you understand? But I think on that count of using that is also another way of creating. Mind you, employment is not about getting you a letter of employment and getting you fixed in a job. Employment is also about part-time employments, holiday employments, internships. That's still about creating jobs.
So this is part of job.
Of course, it's part of creating jobs and creating it appropriately. More so, if you use the teachers Do you mean you have to close the schools for the period they are going to be doing the enlightenment? They're going to enlighten them on how to do the enter the books and all the rest, and then the period they will cast the vote,
itself.
and the period they will collect the vote. Consider that as a cost to the school, to the state, and consider their attachment also, their partisan attachment. And consider the fact that they also are going to be in communities where they can easily be sullied. Their hands can easily be sullied, given that people know them within the domains they live. I think these coppers and students who majority of them should be non-voters in those locales, people who are not from that state most likely, is a better option. And they will also adapt to the INEC system. And if you look at non-partisan part of the electoral umpire, which is the key thing, I think that is more like it. And we shouldn't be caring much about it. And I would say something. If we go by what is happening in some relatively unenlightened countries, once you begin by making an electoral process look incredible or credible or not credible, depending on whichever expression you want to do it, you are creating a lot of angst within the system, and you are actually setting yourself up towards an explosive society. And when an explosive society explodes, it normally moves towards the path of violence. And it moves towards the path of violence, and violence bodes nobody any good, including those who think they will win. Nobody has ever gone into the milieu of violence and escaped as he thought he would escape if it doesn't get consumed. So it is always good to to try as much as possible to believe that your priest is holy, even if you caught him just the day before in an unholy situation. At least it helps keep the mind as safe. I wouldn't want us to needle more on the INEC's credibility, because if we do that, look at it. It is by number. You would think it is just something we can have. Look at how explosive it's turning just within the couple of days. Imagine next we go to Osun. Imagine next we go to a countrywide election. How would it be?
Wonderful.
If we're talking about violence, Mr. AIHONSU, do you think we need the number of security agents presently, security apparatus presently in Ekiti State? If really what we are doing, according to Mr. CHUKA, is we should not preempt violence, we should not start questioning credibility of what the elections will be tomorrow, how necessary do you feel the security apparatus on ground is in Ekiti at the moment?
Well, it is helpful, because it is better to have them than not to have them at all. Except we want to deceive ourselves. This election is really... Ekiti is a volatile state. It's a volatile state. It is like... it is how Kano or Sokoto State is to the north, and how Edo and Delta State is to the south. So I believe with what we have witnessed, heard and seen in the build-up to the election, this last couple of weeks, it is better to have this security personnel on ground. Not only the regular police, but also paramilitary, agencies and the military. If they are there and we have peaceful election, it is better than this element not being there and for violence to be the order of the day. I don't see anything wrong.
CHUKA, would you?
I don't see anything wrong in them having them on ground. It's better. It's better for everybody's sake.
One maxim in security issues is power is better when you have it, but not use it.
Okay.
And for you to know, when you hear big countries, like countries that play big in military, in defense and military where they tell you, let's say America has acquired this special brand of drone, this kind of submarine, this kind of before you even imagine stepping out to go into war, or crisis or anything that will lead to exchange of gunfire with that country or the institution, you freak out. You understand? They tell you that the French Mirage is coming up, that they are going to send a Mirage to your country. You begin to see how even the glamour about it. The military presence is actually more of to deter. Nobody wants usage. No, mind you that if one cannon of tear gas is just fired up, it will create a lot of bad news for both the military and the electoral process. But then you imagine that where there is even the military and the police don't expect to fire a cannon of tear gas. Or fire a cannon of water. Look at what is happening in the British Parliament, where you're even debating whether to use, giving just endorsement to use water cannon on the streets. And they still have all this military wear on the street. It's just to deter people. And mind you, if we can take head count, since 2012, the number of deaths we have encountered in Ekiti, in build up to this Ekiti election, you will know that Ekiti, as Mr. AIHONSU has said, is a volatile state. The election have been actually marked by a lot of exchanges between opposing parties. It has also been marked by a lot of hot exchanges on the pages of newspapers, on TV, and on radio, and a lot of grandstanding. You understand? If you go about now, there are posters, even on the streets of Lagos, that power is not served a la carte. Another person is saying that, there's one I saw there before yesterday, which is almost from a different party, about, they were all insinuating, when they tell you that power is not served a la carte, that means you go, Christians will say the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent takes it by force. Power is not served a la carte means that you have to drive for it, you have to go for it, you have to crave it, you have to go out and wrestle it. And another person serves that. If you were in the military or in the police, wouldn't you deter that? Would you want a rally at the 11th hour? Would you want not to show your presence in the street, so that those who are, if within the last 3 years, some people have actually been building up with death, with bloodbath, and then on the day of that election, you didn't set up something to at least keep the streets calm. If they want to fight, let them fight inside the houses, not on the streets. Wouldn't that be a failure on your part if you are a member of the security agency? I am thinking that it is appropriate, if that would deter violence, let it be.
We're talking about 14,000 troops here, bomb detectors, helicopters, drones, armored vehicles. Talking about the psychology of this. Thank you for using that word. Won't it affect the voters psychologically into not coming out at all for the fear of being harassed?
It depends really on where they are stationed. Now, the regular police are people that are supposed to cordon off or provide security for the immediate vicinity where the police stations are.
The polling stations.
You know, people are, police. They say policemen are friends of the public, of the side, and then of course, so we know regular police people. There are some of them are living amongst us, but the soldiers can man strategic places, flashpoints.
In fact, the chief driver of this operation is police.
It's police.
The soldier has no business within the borders of a country. It's a police action. The military comes to help the police when there is a dire need for that. But why should it deter you that there are soldiers on the street when you're going on for your legitimate duty? Except if you have something untoward. You have something you have in mind, something sinister in mind. It could be psychology playing on you, deterring you. To do what? Do you want to go and fight? Do you want to go and revel on the day of election, go and binge on that day? Is that the day you want to go to? Is that day of?
Shouldn't we have picnics because people want to protect their votes and all of us wants to have some fun?
Yes.
And as well as
if you want to have fun, have it within the confines of the law. But please don't get to the level of popping champagne in the manner that it will look like you want to break bottle.
Indeed, indeed. Well, this is so important because today, the day before the election, campaigns are not allowed. And of course, we're not dealing with individual candidates or naming names. Like I said, there are 18 political parties involved in this election, and there are 18 candidates from all of these political parties, which we will get to tell you about in the course of broadcast. The second segment of this program, Core Digest, All Eyes on Ekiti, will be coming shortly after the news. Don't go away. Still be with us.
Come June 21, it will be decision day for the people of Ekiti. 18 candidates are gunning for one seat.
I am the next governor of Ekiti.
But the people will have the final say.
I know that tolerance has a very big place.
Join extensive coverage of the election and get up to the many details as development unfolds.
I'm the voice of the Ekiti people.
With expert analysis from the best political team on television.
And that's honesty of island. Without
Join us all day June 21 to find out who emerges the next governor of Ekiti State.
We have agreed to move this state forward.
Keep a date with us on Core TV News. You can also watch us live on our website on www.coretvnews.com, a 24-hour news station.